of global trade. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the 9 FTAs that we have finalized significantly deepen our integration with key developed economies. These FTAs span partnerships with several countries across continents, giving our exporters unprecedented market access into high-value, high-income countries. These new FTAs mark a decisive step in positioning India at the center of the global value chains. We are in active negotiations with many other countries with whom we hope to enter into free trade agreements. We have finalized terms of reference with Israel, with the GCC, and we have also launched discussions with Canada and hope to launch free trade agreement negotiations with them in the near future. The Mercosur region is particularly important for us, and we are working to expand our India-Mercosur preferential trade agreement to improve market access, to grow investments on both sides, to have technology partnerships, to engage in sports, education, culture, etc. Excellency, your visit comes at a time when both our economies are experiencing renewed momentum. India today is the world's fastest growing major economy. Our real GDP growth in the second quarter of this year was upward of 8%. This growth reflects the structural transformation of India's economy under Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi since 2014. We are on track to surpass Germany in the next 2 years or so to become the world's third largest GDP. This growth, friends, is driven by reforms in taxation, logistics, manufacturing, digital infrastructure, reducing compliance burden, making it easier to do business, and supporting the efforts of our business community across all regions, all sectors. We have positioned India today as a trusted and reliable destination for global business and investments. Friends, in the financial year 25 alone, India attracted nearly $80 billion in foreign direct investment, the highest ever so far in a single year. This has been driven by our competitive investment climate and transformative schemes supporting industry in sectors like semiconductors, green energy, electric mobility, amongst others. We also actively promote outward investment to other regions, and therefore these free trade agreements will play an important role in building the right climate for India's industry to grow domestically and internationally. When we think of Brazil, we think of its rich natural resources. Minerals like niobium, lithium, and iron ore are vital for shaping the future of technology and global energy transition. Brazil is also a global agriculture powerhouse, producing several products that help feed billions. Brazil's aerospace, automotive, and digital technology industries are rapidly evolving, offering abundant opportunities for collaboration. All of this comes together to make Brazil our strategic partner in global supply chains. Together, we have the potential to reshape global supply or global value chains with resources, innovation, and a forward-looking vision. We warmly invite Brazilian companies to partner with us in these areas, co-creating jobs, adding value, and supporting each other with technology. Our shared commitment to safeguarding national interests and promoting equitable access ensures that global intellectual property frameworks consider the concerns of developing countries, particularly in protecting indigenous technology. In July 2025, on his state visit to Brazil, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and President Mr. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva agreed to deepen the India-Brazil strategic partnership. We support that initiative wholeheartedly from the business community of both countries. The state visit of His Excellency will provide another opportunity for both sides to chart a forward-looking agenda and strengthen our bilateral strategic partnership to reach greater heights. As President Lula da Silva rightly said, no one can reap the fruit before planting the trees. Today, let us plant the seeds of a stronger India-Brazil partnership, nurturing them with collaboration and innovation so that we can reap the fruits of mutual prosperity in the years to come. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, President Lula. Namaskar.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, sir, for your inspiring address and for outlining a forward-looking roadmap for India-Brazil economic cooperation. And ladies and gentlemen, we now arrive at the most distinguished moment of the plenary session. It is a profound honor to welcome a global statesman and an enduring champion of South-South cooperation, His Excellency Mr. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, the Honorable President of the Federative Republic of Brazil, who has been a steadfast advocate of inclusive growth and social justice, sustainable development and stronger cooperation among emerging economies.
Bem, o dia de hoje é dia
is
muito promissor
a very promising day
para a Índia
for India
e para o Brasil.
and for Brazil.
Por isso, eu quero cumprimentar
And this is
o
why
ministro do Comércio e Indústria da República
I'd
da
like to
Índia.
greet the Minister of
Quero cumprimentar os
Trade and
ministros
Industry of
brasileiros que me
India, the
acompanham,
Brazilian ministers that have come with me,
os deputados e senadores.
the members of parliament
Quero
that have come
cumprimentar
with
os
us.
empresários
I'd like to
indianos,
greet
as
the Indian
empresárias, os
business
empresários brasileiros e as
people
empresárias
and the Brazilian
que fazem
business
parte
people who are
desse fórum
who are
empresarial.
part of this business forum and are here with us.
Eu
I
sou muito otimista
am
na relação
very optimistic in
Brasil
the
Índia.
India-Brazil
Sou muito
relation.
otimista porque nós temos
Very
muitas
optimistic
similaridades,
because we have a lot of
porque nós
similarities,
temos
because
muita
we
coisa em comum
have a lot of
e
things
porque
in
nós
common,
temos
and
o desejo
because we
de deixarmos de ser país
wish,
em vez de
to
desenvolvimento
no longer
para nos
be
transformarmos em
developing
países
countries and
desenvolvidos.
become developed
As
nations.
oportunidades
The
estão dadas,
opportunities,
o
they're
papel
here,
do
they've been given.
primeiro-ministro Modi, o papel
The
do
role
presidente da República do Brasil
Of Prime Minister
é
Modi and the
apenas
role
abrir as
of
portas
the
para que
Brazilian
os
president
empresários
is basically to
possam fazer
open
aquilo
the
que
door
eles
so
sabem,
that, the business community can
negociar,
do what they know
construir
best.
parcerias,
Negotiate, build
fazer
partnerships,
investimento
make
no
investments
Brasil e na
in
Índia
Brazil, in
para que
India,
as duas economias
so that
possam
both
crescer
economies
juntas.
may grow together.
Por isso,
Therefore,
eu faço questão
I,
de participar de
you know,
fóruns
really
empresariais
do
em
want to take
todas as
part
minhas
in
viagens.
business forums in all
É muito
my
importante
trips. It is
que os presidentes
very
aprendam
important that,
que, junto
presidents
com eles,
learn
eles
that
devem levar
with
uma
them,
delegação de
they should
empresários
bring a delegation
para
of
que a
business
gente possa
people
fazer com
so
que
that
os
we,
negócios aconteçam
may
de
make
verdade.
business
Mas nenhum outro
really happen. But,
seminário esteve tão
I
presente
mean, but
no
in
meu
no other
planejamento,
seminar has ever been
desde que eu
that
combinei
present in
com o
my
primeiro-ministro
plan.
Modi
I mean, when
que
as
eu
soon
queria
as
fazer uma
arranged
visita
with
à
Prime
Índia
Minister Modi
para retribuir
my
a visita
visit
que ele fez ao
to
Brasil,
India, as a
eu disse para
return
ele que era
of the
importante que
visit
nós
that he made to
tivéssemos
Brazil,
uma
I told him
grande
that it
reunião
would be important
empresarial
for us to hold a
para
big
fazer
business
jus
meeting to,
aos desejos da Índia, ao desejo do Brasil,
make sure
de
that
se transformar em
India's and Brazil's wishes
Por
of
isso,
becoming a great economy are being
eu
provided
mandei
for,
aqui o
and
meu
thus
vice-presidente Geraldo Alckmin,
I sent my
que
vice
chefiou a
president
primeira
Geraldo
delegação
Alckmin, who
empresarial
had the first business
passado.
mission to India
Nesta minha
last
visita
year,
de Estado,
and in this
vem
state visit,
acompanhado possivelmente
I
da maior
have with
delegação de
me possibly
ministros
the
e a
biggest
maior
delegation of
delegação de
ministers,
empresários de todas
business
as viagens que eu
people
fiz
of
até
all the
agora.
different
Uma
trips that I have taken
demonstração
up until now, and this
do
shows
compromisso que eu tenho
the commitment that I have with India.
As trocas comerciais e os fluxos de
Trade
investimento
flows and
conferem
exchanges,
lastros
as well as
às
investment
relações
flows, they
políticas entre os
provide
países.
ballast to political
Eventos
relations
como este
among
impulsionam
countries.
o
Events such as
desenvolvimento
this, they
nacional
drive
e o
national
avanço de
development and
tecnologias
the
inovadoras.
advance of innovative
Também atrai
technologies. It
investimentos
also attracts
que geram
investments
oportunidades de renda
that
para o
lead
povo
to
trabalhador
income
da Índia
opportunity for
e para o povo
workers
trabalhador
in
do
India
Brasil.
as well as in Brazil.
A
The
distância entre
distance
o Brasil
between
e a
Brazil and
Índia
India
é apenas
is but a
detalhe
detail
diante do potencial
vis-a-vis
de
the
amizade
potential
entre Brasil e Índia.
for friendship
Tive a
between our
honra de
countries. I
estar à
had the
frente
honor
da celebração
of
da nossa parceria
being of
estratégica
leading the
no ano de
signing of our
2006.
strategic partnership
De lá para
back in
cá,
2006.
Nosso comércio
Since then, our
bilateral saltou
bilateral
de
trade went from
2 bilhões e
2.4
400 milhões para
billion
15
dollars to
bilhões.
15
É
billion.
grande crescimento,
It is
mas é
a lot
muito
of
pouco.
growth, but it's
Diante
still
do tamanho
not
da
much
Índia
if
e
we
do tamanho
take
do
into
Brasil.
consideration
Mas vocês
Brazil's
imaginam
and
que em
Indian size. But can you
2006
think, right?
o nosso
That in
comércio era
2006,
apenas
our
2
trade was only
bilhões e 400
2
milhões.
billion
Ou seja,
400
nada.
million, so nothing
Uma
really.
demonstração que nem a Índia olhava
And
para o
this is
Brasil,
something
nem o
that shows
Brasil
no,
olhava
not
para a
even
Índia.
did India look to Brazil or
Todos
Brazil
nós.
look to India, and all of
Todos
us,
nós
all of us.
fomos criados e
I mean,
orientados
we
para olhar para as grandes
were,
potências,
raised
para a
to look at the
Europa,
big powerhouses,
para a
to
Europa
look
dos
to
Estados
Europe,
Unidos,
to the US,
para olhar para o Japão,
to look to
mais
Japan,
recentemente para a China,
and more
e a
recently
gente não se
China,
olhava,
and
nós
we didn't
não
look
nos
at
enxergávamos.
each other. We couldn't see each other.
E nós agora
And
resolvemos
now
mudar
we have
esse
decided to change this.
comportamento. Resolvemos mudar o
We decided
comportamento
to
porque
change this
o
because
potencial
the potential,
de entrosamento político,
of
econômico,
political,
cultural,
civic,
científico e
cultural,
tecnológico
scientific,
entre Brasil e
technological
China
integration between Brazil
é uma coisa
and
de
India
uma dimensão tão
is
grande
something
que nós talvez não
which
tenhamos
is huge in
capacidade
its
para
dimension,
enxergar.
and perhaps we do not have the
Eu estava dizendo agora há
capability
pouco
of
para os
seeing this.
empresários
I was just
que eu estive na
saying
Índia em
this to
2005,
the business
quando a Índia conseguiu
people
pela
who we
primeira
met. I was
vez
in India for
ter uma
2005
reserva
when India
internacional
managed to have an
de 100
international
bilhões de dólares.
reserves of $100 billion for
Isso
the
em 2005.
first time. This was back in
O
2005.
Brasil não tinha nenhuma
Brazil
reserva.
had no reserves
O
at that
Brasil
time.
devia 30
Brazil
bilhões de
owed
dólares
$30
ao
billion
FMI.
to the IMF.
E o Brasil
And Brazil,
era sempre cobrado
was always
fiscais do FMI do Brasil.
being
Por conta
charged with
daquela minha viagem à Índia,
IMF representatives
eu
coming
resolvi
to
que o
Brazil.
Brasil
Because of
deveria
that
ter
trip that I
reservas
made to
internacionais.
India, I decided that Brazil should
Em
have
pouco
international
tempo,
reserves. And
nós chegamos a ter
shortly after that,
370
we
bilhões de
reached
dólares de reservas internacionais.
$370 billion
Naquele
in
mesmo ano,
international reserves.
em
In
2005,
that same
O
year,
Brasil, pela primeira vez,
2005, for the first time, Brazil
conseguiu exportar
managed to export
o equivalente a
the
100 bilhões de
equivalent to
dólares.
$100 billion.
Foi uma festa para o Brasil.
It was a big celebration for Brazil, you know.
Hoje, o nosso fluxo
And today, our
internacional
international trade flow reaches $649 billion.
não é demonstração de que as
So
possibilidades
this
estão aí.
shows that, you know, the possibilities, they're there.
Veja, o primeiro-ministro
Look,
Modi e eu
Prime Minister
nos
Modi and I
comprometemos a trabalhar
have
para chegarmos
committed
a
to
20
work for us to
bilhões de
reach
dólares
$20
em
billion
3 anos e poucos anos.
in, you know,
Eu
a
queria lembrar
trade
que
exchange in
quando eu
a
vim
few
aqui em
years. I'd
2005,
like to remind you that
eu
when
e
I
o
visited India in
primeiro-ministro Singh
2005, me
nos
and Prime Minister
comprometemos a
Singh,
chegar a
we
10
committed to
bilhões de
reach $10
dólares
billion
nos últimos, 10 anos depois.
10 years later.
Ou seja,
So
eu disse ao primeiro-ministro Singh,
So,
ao primeiro-ministro Modi,
said to Prime
que
Minister Modi
20 bilhões de
that
dólares
$20
é
billion
muito pouco para o Brasil.
is not much for,
Com a
you know,
quantidade de
India and
empresários
Brazil. I mean, with the number of
indianos que já estão no
Indian
Brasil,
business
e com a quantidade de
people
empresários
that are in
brasileiros
Brazil
que querem
already,
fazer
and
investimento
with
na
the number
Índia,
of Brazilian investors
E
that want to
com a
invest in
tentativa de se
India,
colocar
you know,
fim no
and with the
multilateralismo
attempt
e se
of
implantar o
bringing
unilateralismo,
multilateralism to an end,
China e
implementing
Brasil,
unilateralism,
ao
China,
invés de ficar chorando aquilo
India,
que não
and
aconteceu,
Brazil, instead
nós
of,
temos que
you
fazer
know, crying over
acontecer
spilt
entre os
milk,
nossos dois
what we
países.
need to do is to
Portanto,
ensure
eu
that this
acho
happens
que disse
between
ao
our
primeiro-ministro
two
Modi
countries. And this is
que não
why
será
I
surpresa
think, and I
se em
said this to
2030
Prime Minister
a
Modi,
gente, ao invés
that I
de
will
20,
not be surprised
chegar
that
a
if by
30 bilhões de
2030
dólares
we
de
have not
comércio
reached 20
entre os dois
billion,
países.
but 30
É
billion
só
in bilateral trade between
correr
our two
atrás.
countries. All we need to do is, you know, work for it.
No mundo de hoje,
In today's world,
conectividade
today's
e
world,
diversificação comercial
the
viraram sinônimo de
connectivity
resiliência
and commercial
diante do
possibilities have
recrudescimento
become
do
a synonym
proteccionismo
of
e do
resilience because
unilateralismo
of
comercial.
protectionism and trade
Desde o
unilateralism.
início do meu
Since the
mandato,
start of
o
my
Mercosul
term
assinou
in office,
acordos com a
Mercosur
Singapura,
has
EFTA
signed agreements with
e mais
Singapore,
recentemente com a União
EFTA, and more
Europeia.
recently with the European Union,
Ampliar
increasing
significativamente o
significantly
acordo de comércio
the
preferencial Mercosul-Índia,
preferential
que vigora
trade
desde
agreement
2009,
Mercosur-India
é
that
uma
has been
prioridade com
discussed
vistas
since
ao futuro
2009 is a
acordo de livre
priority
comércio.
when you look
Dois
for a
mercados tão
possible free trade
importantes como o
agreement for the
Brasil e a
future.
Índia
Two such important
precisam
markets
de um
such as Brazil
arcabouço
and
mais
India
abrangente
needs a
e
sort
mais
of
ambicioso.
wider reaching,
O
more
interesse
ambitious
recíproco é
framework. The
crescente.
reciprocal interest
Mais de
is
100 missões
growing.
empresariais
Over
brasileiras
100 missions
visitaram a Índia
by
nos últimos 3
Brazilian
anos.
business people who actually
Grande
visited
número de
India in the last 3
empresários
years.
se
A great number
beneficiará
of
da
business
extensão
people
da
will
validade
benefit
dos
from
vistos de negócios
extending
de
the
5 para 10 anos.
visa validity for
Para
business in
apoiar o
terms from
setor
5 to
privado dos
10
dois
years to
países
support the private
a
sector of both
identificar
countries
oportunidades de
so
fechar
that we may
negócios,
identify
a Agência
opportunities and actually
Brasileira de
close deals.
Promoção
The
de
Brazilian
Exportações, a APEC,
Export Promotion
inaugurou
Agency,
ontem seu
APEX,
escritório
yesterday
aqui em Delhi.
opened their office
O
in
acordo
Delhi.
sobre
And
cooperação
the
em micro,
agreement
pequenas
on
e médias empresas
cooperation
que
for
assinamos
small,
hoje vai
medium-sized
apoiar a troca de
companies that we signed
experiências
today, they're
em
going to
setor
support
vital
the exchange of
para a
experience
geração de
in a crucial
empregos e para
sector
as
for
nossas economias.
creating jobs
Nos
and for our
setores de
economies
ponta,
in
como
cutting-edge
tecnologia da
sectors such
informação,
as IT,
inteligência
artificial
artificial,
intelligence,
biotecnologia e
biotechnology,
exploração espacial,
and space
as
exploration.
oportunidades são inúmeras. A
Opportunities
parceria
are
digital com a
countless.
Índia
The
é a
digital
primeira
partnership
dessa
with India is
natureza
the
assinada
first
pelo
of this
Brasil.
nature
Ela
signed by
reunirá
Brazil. It will
cooperação
bring
em
together
inteligência artificial,
cooperation in
computação de
artificial
alto desempenho e
intelligence, high
startups
performance
de base
computing,
tecnológica.
startups of technological
Também
basis.
somos líderes na
We are also
criação
leaders
de
in the creation of
infraestrutura pública
digital
digitais.
public infrastructure, the DPIs. The Brazilian PIGs and India's
O India Stack
stack
mostra que é possível
shows that it is
democratizar a
possible to
tecnologia
democratize
e colocar
technology
inovação
and place
serviço da
innovation
inclusão.
at the service of inclusion.
Enfrentar a mudança do
Facing
clima
climate
é uma
change
obsessão do meu
is an
governo.
obsession of my
Neste ano,
government. This year,
reduzimos em
we have
50% o
reduced
desmatamento na Amazônia com
deforestation in
relação a
the
2022.
Amazon in 50% in relation to 2022.
teremos a
In
melhor taxa de
2026, we are going to have the
desmatamento na história do
lowest deforestation rate
O
in
Brasil
Brazil's
está fazendo a
history.
sua parte
Brazil's
para
doing
assegurar
its part
planeta habitável
to ensure
para as
that we
próximas
have
gerações.
a planet
Monitoramos
where
nossos biomas
next
e
generations
usamos
can
a
live in. We
ciência
have been
como
monitoring our
ferramenta
biomes
de
and we
cuidado
use science
e
as a tool
soberania.
of care and
Juntamente com a
sovereignty.
Índia,
Together with India,
queremos ser motores de
we
novo
want to
modelo de
be
desenvolvimento.
drivers of a new
Transformamos
development
os
model.
desafios
We
da transição
have transformed
energética e da
challenges of
mudança do
energy
clima
transition and of
em
climate
oportunidades.
change into opportunities.
É o
India
mercado de bioenergia que mais
is the
cresce no mundo.
bioenergy market that
E o
grows
Brasil
the
tem
most in the
meio
world, and
século de
Brazil has
experiência com
half a
etanol
century of
e
experience
motores
with ethanol and dual
No marco
fuel
da Aliança
engines.
Global para
At the level of
biocombustíveis,
the Global
estamos
Biofuel
criando
Alliance,
mercado
we are
mundial.
creating a
A
world
transição
market.
energética e
Energy
digital
and
não se
digital
fará
transition
sem
will
minerais
not take
críticos.
place without
O
critical
Brasil
minerals.
conta
Brazil
com pelo
has
menos
at least
26%
26%
das
of the
reservas mundiais
world's
de minerais
reserves of
críticos,
critical minerals,
tendo apenas 30%
and we have
do seu
only
território prospectado.
30% of its
Assim como a
territory
Índia
prospected, just like
criou a
India.
Missão Nacional de
We have
Minerais Críticos
established the
e
national
o Brasil
mission
criou
for
Conselho
critical
Nacional
minerals. Brazil
vinculado à
has
Presidência da
set up a national
República
council
para
linked to the
garantir
presidency of the republic to
soberania.
ensure our sovereignty.
Queremos atrair a cadeia de
We want
processamento
to
dessa
attract the
riqueza
processing
para o
chain for
território
this wealth for the
brasileiro
Brazilian
sem
territory
fazer opções
without
excludentes.
having to make
O acordo
excluding
que
options.
assinamos hoje com a
The agreement
Índia
that we signed today
vai
with India,
exatamente
it goes in this direction.
Meus amigos e minhas
Precisely.
amigas.
Dear
Há
friends,
sinergias também no
we
setor
also have synergies
agropecuário.
in the agri
Somos o segundo
livestock
e o
sector. We are
quarto
the
maiores
second and fourth
produtores de
biggest
alimentos do mundo.
producers of food.
O
in
rebanho
the world.
zebuíno brasileiro
The zebra
teve sua origem
cattle
no
in
início do
Brazil
século
has
XX
its origins
com
from the start
importações
of
de
the 20th
exemplares
century
de Nelore e
through
Gir,
importing of Nelore and Gyr
Gujarati, estado natal
and
do
cows from the
primeiro-ministro
Gujarat, which is the home state of
Hoje,
Prime Minister
o
Modi.
Brasil
Today,
vende sua
Brazil
genética animal para a
sells
Índia.
its animal genetics to
Podemos
India.
cooperar na
We can
integração
cooperate
de
in
cadeias produtivas
integrating
agrícolas,
agricultural
na
productive
inovação
chains, in
tecnológica, no
technological
uso sustentável
innovation,
do solo e na segurança
sustainable use of
alimentar
soil,
global.
and also in global
O
food
complexo
security.
industrial da saúde
The health
é
industrial
outra
complex
vertente
is another
estratégica de cooperação e do comércio
strategic line
bilaterais.
for
A
cooperation
Índia
and
é
bilateral trade.
grande
India
fornecedor
is
de
a
insumos
big
farmacêuticos para o
provider of
Brasil.
pharmaceutical inputs
Temos
for
um
Brazil.
histórico
We
de
have
atuação
a
conjunta
track
para
record
garantir
of
acesso
joint action to
amplo e
ensure
barato de medicamentos
wide-reaching and
genéricos
cheap
para populações
access
de baixa renda
of generic
e para
medication for
países em
low-income
desenvolvimento.
populations and also for developing countries.
Neste fórum,
In this forum,
celebramos
we
3
signed
acordos de
3
parcerias estratégicas da
agreements
Fiocruz
of
com empresas
strategic
locais
partnership with few
para
crews of local
desenvolvimento
companies for
conjunto de
developing
vacinas, medicamentos
vaccines,
e insumos
medications, and
essenciais.
essential
Outro
inputs.
campo com enorme
Another field
potencial
with a
é o
lot
de
of potential
hospitais inteligentes,
is
como o que o
for
ministro da
smart
Saúde,
hospitals,
Alexandre
such as the
Padilha,
one
visitou
that the
em
Minister
Bangalore.
of Health, Alexandre
A
Padilha,
indústria brasileira
visited in
é
Bangalore.
competitiva em vários setores
Brazilian
de
industry is
elevado
competitive
conteúdo
in many different
tecnológico
sectors with
e valor
high
agregado como
technological
aeroespacial.
content and
o aeronáutico.
value-added content,
A
such as
Índia
aeronautics and
já é o
spatial
terceiro
sectors.
maior
India is already the
mercado de
third
aviação comercial do mundo
biggest commercial
e
aviation
dos
market
maiores
in the world and one
mercados
of the
globais de
biggest
defesa, com
global
ambiciosos
defense
programas de
markets
modernização.
with very ambitious
Em ambas
modernizing
as áreas,
schemes.
o Brasil
In
está
both areas,
pronto para
Brazil is
colaborar.
ready to cooperate.
Não queremos
We don't
apenas
want
vender,
just to sell.
queremos comprar,
We want to buy.
investir
We
e
want to invest
consolidar
and
nossa presença
consolidate
na
our
Índia
presence in
com
India
transferência de
with the
tecnologia
transfer of
e
technology
formação do pessoal.
and
Os acordos
personnel
assinados pela
capacity
Embraer
building. With the
com a
agreement signed by
Adani
Embraer
e a
with the
Mahindra
Adani and
vão
Mahindra Group,
propiciar a
these
produção de
agreements are
aeronaves
going
comerciais
to allow for the
de
production of
defesa aqui na
commercial and defense
Para
aircraft
atrair
here in India. In
investimento,
order to attract
o Brasil
investment,
fez uma
Brazil
reforma tributária
has
histórica
undergone
e certamente
a
o ministro
historic
Fernando Haddad
tax reform,
falou
which
hoje
Minister
da
Fernando
importação.
Haddad has probably mentioned when he spoke to you this morning.
Hoje,
Today,
oferecemos
we offer
segurança
legal
jurídica,
certainty,
estabilidade
economic
econômica,
stability,
estabilidade
political
política
stability,
e
and
estabilidade
social
social.
stability.
O Programa Brasileiro de
The
Aceleração do
Growth
Crescimento,
Acceleration
PAC,
Program, the PAC,
e a nova
PAC, and
indústria
the
Brasil,
new
que
Brazil
mobilizaram
industry,
mais de
which
50
mobilized over
bilhões de
$50
dólares,
billion,
estão abertos à
they
participação
are open
indiana em áreas de
to Indian
energia
participation
limpa,
in
mobilidade
areas such as clean
elétrica,
energy,
saúde,
electrical mobility, health,
aeroespacial,
aerospace,
semicondutores
semiconductors,
e inovação
and
digital.
digital innovation.
Meus amigos e
My
minhas amigas,
friends,
o Brasil
Brazil
vai continuar a expandir nossas relações com o mundo,
is going to continue
sem
to
distinção
increase our relations with the
ou
world
alinhamentos
without
automáticos.
distinction or automatic
Os
alignments.
negócios não têm
Business
cor
have no color,
religião
religion,
ou
or
ideologia.
ideology.
Vocês,
You,
empresárias,
business people,
vocês,
you
empresárias e
business
empresários,
people,
serão centrais
you are
para que essas
the
oportunidades se tornem
core for
realidade.
these opportunities to become a
Parafraseando
reality. Paraphrasing
Primeira-ministra Indira Gandhi,
Prime
ao
Minister
visitar o
Indira
Brasil
Gandhi
em
when she visited Brazil in
1968, dizia
1968,
ela,
she used
o
to say,
futuro
the future
não chega por si
does
só,
not arrive on its own.
precisamos
We
desejá-lo.
need to wish it.
Vamos ao trabalho.
So let's
Boa
get
sorte.
to work. Good luck.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your visionary address and for reaffirming the strength and future potential of the India-based partnerships. We now request our dignitaries to kindly come forward for the official photograph.